everyone, welcome to my channel. In today's video, I am super excited to do a full face of Lisa Eldridge makeup with you all. And the star of today's show is this refillable lipstick. So this is her latest release. I got this in the shade Ashes of Roses. And as you can tell, I haven't actually opened this up because when it comes to lipsticks, I love showing you guys like the untouched bullet and my initial impressions. So I'm really excited to dive into this product today. I'll be comparing this as well with Lisa Eldridge's previous lip formulas since I have all of them in my collection. In addition, there's a couple other recent releases from her that I haven't really gotten a chance to feature much on my channel, including her liquid silk eyeshadow. I have this in the shade Phoebe, and I don't think I've actually shown this on my channel, but I have actually worn this a decent amount, including on a trip. So I'll demo this and also share with you guys my review of this product. And then I think I've only demoed this once for you guys before when I first got it, but this is her skin tint in the shade T6. And I've been since using this a lot more, so I can give you guys an updated review of this product as well. In addition, for today's look, I'll feature her liquid Lurex, shimmery eyeshadows, and her elevated glow highlighter. So if you're interested in any of these Lisa Eldridge products, then just stick around. So let's start things off with the skin tint, and I wanted to actually show you guys what this looks like in comparison to her foundation. This is one of my favorite foundations and I really fell in love with this. It was one of the first products from her brand. You can see both of these have that sort of egg shape that is kind of iconic from Lisa Eldridge, but they are very different. This is super heavy, luxe, really gorgeous, whereas this is just kind of a squeezy bottle. So, to be honest, when I first got this, I was a little bit disappointed by the packaging, but it is still very clean and chic looking, and this is a lot more affordable than the foundation. So, it kind of evens out, but did want to mention that this one is super gorgeous. So with the skin tint, if you watch Lisa Eldridge's demos, she usually doesn't use that much, just like a couple drops to start out, because this skin tint has a really nice blurring effect on the skin. So it's not really meant to add that much pigmentation. Instead, it's almost like kind of a filter on the face. At least that's how Lisa Eldridge tends to describe it. Now for me, I do like to have a little bit more coverage with this product, so I tend to layer it up a bit more than what I've seen her do in her videos, and I find it does layer really nicely. But for today's video, let me first just show you guys what it looks like on half of my face if I use a very light hand. So here it is on this side of the face and nothing on this side. So you can see how this side looks very much more filtered and perfected in comparison to this side. And the first time I tried this on, I felt like this was sort of magical almost, because like when I look at myself in my mirror, it kind of looks like I don't really have anything on this side of my face. It's pretty imperceptible because you can still see all of the skin peeking through. But at the same time, when you kind of compare the two sides, especially on camera, this side just looks way more perfected. So I thought that was really cool, was very impressed, and definitely have continued to be impressed with that. Let me now even out the two sides. Now, one thing I will say that I'm not a huge fan of with this product is, as you can maybe tell, it's not really the best shade match for me. This shade in particular has much stronger olive undertones than my skin. And so on the one hand, I think if you have olive undertones and have a hard time finding shade matches, Lisa Eldridge's line is really great. She herself has some olive undertones, and this is actually her shade match. So, I think she does a really great job at catering to those undertones. But for me, my undertone is a little bit more straight up neutral goldens. So I picked this up because it was supposed to be a neutral undertone, but it definitely leans a bit greenish on me. I can still definitely pull it off because it is such a sheer formula, but did want to mention that if you use me as a shade reference. So here it is on both sides of my face, super natural, very nice. You can just leave it here. I'm gonna just add some more though today because I wanna show you guys how this can build up. One other thing I'll mention is this does have kind of a silicone smell and texture to it. Not a big deal to me in that this is unscented. This is just the smell of the ingredients, but did want to mention that if you don't like silicone-y products. That is something that's pretty common throughout her products. Like, for example, her lipsticks also tend to be very slippy and have a lot of silicone in them, which is one thing I'm interested in seeing with her latest lipstick, if that's true as well. Because personally, when it comes to lipsticks, I'm not a huge fan of that kind of formulation. It tends to kind of irritate my lips a bit, and so I've sort of fallen out of love as a result with her Luxuriously Lucent lipsticks, which is her previous satin lipstick formula. But I still wanted to give this refillable lipstick a try because I do love Lisa Eldridge products overall. Alrighty, so here we have the skin tint on my face, and you can definitely see it leaves quite a glow as well. I find you don't have to set this down. It does sort of settle over time itself, but if you want to kind of tone down the glow, then definitely some setting powder helps. And in case you're curious about the two formulations, here we have her skin tint in T6. Here we have her foundation in shade 15. I did buy this foundation back when my skin tone was a bit deeper. I was living somewhere else at the time with a lot more sun exposure. So this is definitely a bit deep for me right now. But you can see how different the formulations are. This is very liquidy, very sheer, very glowy. This is more of a medium to full coverage foundation that has more of a natural finish on the skin. So I went off camera to put on some concealer, bronzer, and do my brows. For context, I have the Rare Beauty bronzer stick on today in the shade Happy Soul. This is relatively new to my collection, and I do really love this formula. I feel like the shade is a little bit reddish for my taste, but this formula is amazing, so did want to mention that. Now let's get into the eyes. So I don't have any primer on my lids today because that is really not necessary when it comes to using this product. So let me first give you guys a swatch. So there we have the shade Phoebe, which is sort of a yellow undertone, sort of tan shade. It's pretty natural on my skin tone. As you can see, it's just sort of like a deeper shade of my skin tone. And I have been really enjoying this formula. As you can see, it just kind of blends like a dream. It's really, really easy to use, even with a finger application. So this is really great on days when you don't want to bother with a bunch of brushes, cleaning them, so on and so forth. And you just want a really simple one and done. So I took this recently with me on a business trip, and I found it was perfect for that because, you know, on a lot of those days I am getting up early, I just want to get to the office, and I also don't really want to look like I'm wearing makeup necessarily, but I do want to look kind of put together. And I think this sort of eyeshadow is perfect for that. You see, we're basically done at this point. You can just leave it at this. If you do like having a little bit of shadow in the lower lash line as well, you can use this for that too. So you can just sort of sweep it under the lower lash line like that, and either using a brush or a finger, just kind of smudge that out a little bit. So there we go. And again, that's a very simple one and done kind of look if you just want a little bit of extra dimension. And this does actually do a really good job of kind of smoothing the lids. So that's not really a major concern for me personally, but I have been very impressed at how smooth it makes my lids look. Like you can see, everything does look kind of silky, powdery, matte. So I would highly recommend this if that is a concern of yours, if you have slightly crepey lids. This is a very flattering formula, and far more flattering than any shimmer formulas when it comes to texture on the lids. In addition to just wearing this as a one and done, I also really like pairing it with her liquid Lurex shadows because these have been kind of my obsession throughout the year. I've been really enjoying these despite the fact that I'm actually someone who didn't like liquid eyeshadows previous to using this formula. But this formula is just very easy to use. The shades that Lisa Eldridge has curated are really, really beautiful. and they're just so easy for a one and done. So as you can see, again, I'm someone who is very particular about brushes typically. Like I have a huge Fude brush collection. I normally use a lot of brushes whenever I do my eyeshadow. But on days when I am feeling lazy, I don't want to clean any brushes, this is kind of my go-to because again, it's just very quick and easy. The effect is very nice. And all you have to do is just wash your hands afterward. Obviously, you can make this a lot more precise if you use a brush, but I think this looks pretty good even without that. Let me just bring down the brightness a bit so you can see that shade better. This is the shade Daphne, which is sort of a golden olive green shade. And normally, again, I would just leave this without any further ado, but I did also want to show you guys the Sorcery palette, which is my favorite of her eyeshadow palettes. I also have Myth, and honestly, I don't actually like that one very much. The formulas just don't really work that well for me, but the formulas in this one are really great. This one unfortunately has broken, which is why it looks like that. I dropped the palette. It was totally my fault, but this palette in general is gorgeous though. So for today, I'm just going to take a little bit of this shade, which is Swan Song, and just put this on the center of the lid just for some extra sparkle, because Daphne is very much a satin shade, but since we're sitting down and filming a video, why not kind of pull out the stops, make something more interesting. And you can see that just is so pretty, just really adds some gorgeous sparkle to this sort of look. And then just to add a little something to the lower lash line too, I'm gonna go into Mage and just sweep some of this on the lower lash line. So here we have the super easy eyeshadow look. And here we have the eyeshadow with eyeliner. I kept things pretty subtle today because this is Lisa Eldridge, and you know, her overall makeup aesthetic is not that in your face. But I am really impressed with just how easy to put together this look was. So now let's get to the star of today's show, which is this refillable lipstick. Super excited for this. So here is the component. Wow, it's very luxe, very weighty and heavy. It has the Lisa Eldridge emblem on this side and my initials on the other side. And then let's see. Oh wow, the lipstick is actually already in it. I thought this would be like one of those refillable lipsticks where the refill comes separately, especially since this has an engraving. But wow, really nice. And you can see the bullet has the Lisa Eldridge emblem. So pretty. Wow, it is kind of a small lipstick, so if we compare it with her Luxuriously Lucent lipsticks, you can see it's a little bit more petite, but that's okay. I don't really run out of lipsticks ever. And in case you're curious about the difference in packaging, so for one, this doesn't have a magnet, so it's fully recyclable, but here it is next to her Luxuriously Lucent, so it's basically the same overall dimensions, but this one's obviously a lot fancier, but the same brushed gold color that Lisa Eldridge is famous for. Really gorgeous. And this one is so heavy, like so much heavier than her other lipsticks. So now let's put this on. So that's one swipe on the upper lip, and you can see this is quite similar to my natural lip color. And then one swipe on the lower lip. It's not 100% full pigmentation, but it's pretty high pigmentation on one swipe. And this does definitely have a silicone-y smell and texture to it. So on the one hand, that's good if you like something that's a bit more smoothing on the lips. This actually reminds me a lot of her Velvet line. That's her matte lipstick line. This is more similar, I would say, in texture and formulation to that than her Luxuriously Lucents. But this definitely feels more hydrating than her Velvet. It's sort of like in between those formulas. But there we go. So here we have Ashes of Roses on my lips. To be honest, the overall color story for today's look is not really vibing with me. I feel like yeah, it's not all fitting together, unfortunately, but I do like each component individually. This is totally on me. I probably should have picked a different eyeshadow color. But so far this is looking good. Like I said, it does have very much that smoothing effect on the lips, which I do appreciate. My one concern, as I mentioned earlier in this video, is that I do find for myself, at least, when it comes to lip formulas that have a lot of silicone in them, sometimes it irritates my lips over the course of the day and makes them feel drier. I don't know how common this is. This might just be a me thing, but as a result of this, some popular lip formulas like Lisa Eldridge's Velvet formulas, like the Chantecaille Lip Veil, and Natasha Denona's lip formula, like they don't work as well on me as they do other people. So I do just want to make note of that. That might not be a problem for you, but if you have that same sensitivity to silicone, then yeah, I'm not sure how well this will go. Let me give you guys some swatch comparisons of this formula next to her other formulas. So here we have the refillable lipstick formula, and here we have her Velvet Muse, and then this is the Luxuriously Lucent and Painterly, and her Lip Embrace Gloss in Blush. So you can see that this formula is very much kind of like a hybrid of these two. This one is matte, this one is satin, this one's more sheer, this one is full pigment. The new one is full pigment as well, and the gloss is very glossy and sheer. In terms of smell and taste, there isn't any added perfume to this, and so it just smells and tastes like the ingredients. Again, that tiny hint of siliconiness, which I'm not a huge fan of, but it's very light and subtle at least. So to finish off today's look, I was actually thinking it might be fun to use this as a blush as well. So I like doing this sometimes with lip formulas just to see how well they work. And I think actually this might be a decent lipstick blush combo because it does have that middle of the road formulation, not too matte, not too emollient. So yeah, I think that's quite nice actually, and this shade is pretty good on the skin as well. It's kind of a very natural blush shade. I will say my finger is sort of picking up some of the skin tint as I'm doing this because I haven't set that. So that's the one downside of applying this like I am right now. But this does look quite nice, and this is a good way to ensure that your lips and your cheeks will match. And I don't have any blush from Lisa Eldridge, so this is also in keeping with maximizing my use of my Lisa Eldridge products for this video. All right, hopefully you guys can see that. I know it kind of is relatively subtle, but I think it works for today's look. And then to complete this look, I'm going in with this liquid highlighter, and I'm just gonna put a tiny bit of this on each of my cheeks and also on the bridge of my nose. So I didn't use this underneath or mixed into the skin tint today, which is another way you can use this formula, but I find that the skin tint is already, at least for me, sort of glowy enough, so I don't really feel a need to further add glow or shine to it. Overall, this is not a product I use a lot, so it is really beautiful. So as you can see, when I do use it, I think it looks really nice, adds some nice subtle glow. It's very easy to use as a highlighter because it doesn't have that much pigmentation to it. It's not going to give you that sort of metallic glow. And so from that sense, I think it's really nice and really fitting in Lisa Eldridge's line. That said, with this kind of formula, I find that it doesn't always agree with every sort of foundation if you're putting it underneath a foundation or mixed in. So it works super, super well with Lisa Eldridge's foundation, which, you know, makes sense, they're in the same line. But I have used this with some other foundations where it's made the foundation have a harder time really adhering to the skin. And I think that's just because this formula is a little bit like kind of watery, and so it can sort of affect just how well stuff sticks to your skin. I think maybe if you let it like fully dry down, that might not be an issue. But I did want to note that because to me, it just makes it a little bit too finicky. And most days I'm not, you know, really willing to spend that much effort to like really make sure each of my layers of makeup are adhering. It just has to kind of work, you know, straight up or I won't use it. But if you're someone who is always using Lisa Eldridge's foundation and you wish there were kind of a glowier, lighter weight version of that, mixing those two products together will give you that. So here we have the final look. So to be honest, I do not actually like this look that much, but again, that's on me. Like something about like the color theory of this look is not working. I think the issue is just that the eyes are maybe just leaning a little, the eyes plus the lips are leaning maybe a little bit too warm compared to this outfit. Like I thought, okay, there's green in this outfit, so I'll try to put green in the eyes. But I think it actually kind of backfired and it's just like enough of a mismatch undertone wise that the whole look is not cohering. Similarly, I feel like the lip and the eyes just, they look okay together, but not great. So but individually, yeah, I think I really liked the eye look by itself. I also feel like it was super easy to create, really love all the formulations. So I would highly recommend Lisa Eldridge's eyeshadow formulations, at least the palette Sorcery and then her liquid ones. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of her other palettes. In terms of the skin tint, I really enjoy this as well. The undertone, again, is a little bit off for me, but the formulation is really great. And especially if you're someone who doesn't want to look like you have much on your skin, but you do want to have that nice filtered effect, then this will definitely do it for you. In terms of the lipstick, so this has sat on my lips for, you know, like 15 minutes at this point, and my lips are already starting to feel really dry. So that is quite disappointing. I actually don't think I can return this because it's engraved. I mean, it's beautiful either way, so I guess it's, you know, not a complete loss, but this is like $50, so this is quite a lot for just like a vanity piece. But yeah, my lips do feel very dry at the moment. For context, I do have extremely dry lips, so I generally can't wear any matte lipsticks. If you're someone who doesn't have that issue, then you might not have a problem with this. But for me, I really need like very hydrating lipsticks. I was hoping this as a satin formulation would not dry out my lips that much, but I'm feeling really dry at the moment. So yeah, I don't know. I'll keep trying this out, maybe give you guys some update, but yeah, I'm not feeling this lipstick formula at the moment. And also recently, if you watched my other haul videos, I did haul some other luxury lipsticks from Izamaya and from Dries Van Noten. The Dries Van Noten one is amazing. It's like longevity is so great. The pigmentation is great, so hydrating, even though it's nice and thin. So that's kind of one of my comparison points right now. And that lipstick is more expensive, but that one is just amazing. Whereas this one just does not feel good right now. So I don't know. Hopefully my opinion might change of this, but if you have really dry lips, for now, this is not a recommend for me. So that's it for today's video. If you guys like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you all so much for joining me today, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.